Alright, what is up everybody, Pretender here, back with another Honkai Star guide, and today I'm going to be providing a full build guide on the standard banner character Himeko. Let's face it, you're probably here because you lost 50-50, I get it, is what it is, happens to the best of us, and hey, maybe after watching this video you'll be able to use her to a better extent and be wanting to build her because Himeko recently has seen more play due to the new Pure Fiction game mode, and the game mode does favor AoE characters, and her follow-up attacks, which is her whole thing, is a full field AoE attack and can be very powerful in that mode with certain team comps, so she has seen a lot more play due to the mode. And so yeah, today I'm going to be going over some materials you need to build her main ones, her kit, best lightcones, best relics, and best relic stats. Now before I get into the video, if you guys could drop a sub, turn on the bell icon for future guides like this along with summons, showcases, all that kind of stuff. Greatly appreciated, and let's get straight into the video. So Himeko is a fire erudition character specializing in follow-up attacks. Her basic attack deals fire damage equal to 100% of Himeko's attack to a single enemy. Her skill deals fire damage equal to 200% of Himeko's attack to a single enemy and fire damage equal to 80% of Himeko's attack to enemies adjacent to it. Her ultimate deals fire damage equal to 230% of Himeko's attack to all enemies. Himeko regenerates 5 extra energy for each enemy defeated. Her talent: when an enemy is inflicted with weakness break, Himeko gains 1 point of charge that can go up to a maximum of 3 max charge points. If Himeko is fully charged when an ally performs an attack, Himeko immediately performs 1 follow-up attack and deals fire damage equal to 140% of her attack to all enemies, consuming all charge points. At the start of battle, Himeko gains 1 point of charge. So, with this is where her follow attack comes in. It is called Victory Rush. You have to have 3 charges for it to proc, and as it says, if an ally attacks, she performs a follow-up attack, which is the AoE follow-up attack I was talking in the beginning of the video, which is very, very strong. To get it, obviously, yeah, you get the weakness break, can be a bit iffy, but with stuff like Ruan Mei now, it is not that big of a deal to get. So her technique: after using her technique, creates a dimension that lasts for 15 seconds. After entering battle with enemies in the dimension, there's a 100% base chance to increase fire damage taken by enemies by 10% for 2 turns. Only one dimension created by allies can exist at the same time. For her bonus ability / traces, her first one, when current HP is 80% or higher, crit rate increases by 15%. Second bonus ability skill deals 20% more damage to enemies currently afflicted with a burn. Third bonus ability, after using an attack, there is a 50% chance to inflict a burn on enemies for 2 turns. When afflicted with burn, enemies take fire dot equal to 30% of Himeko's attack at the start of each turn. Quickly going over her eidolons. Her first eidolon, after Victory Rush is triggered, again that's her talent, Himeko's speed increases by 20% for 2 turns. Second eidolon deals 15% more damage to enemies whose HP is 50% or less. Fourth eidolon, when Himeko's skill inflicts weakness break on an enemy, she gains 1 extra point of charge. And her final eidolon, ultimate, deals damage 2 extra times, each of which deals fire damage equal to 40% of the original damage to a random enemy. And so real quick, for the Stagnant Shadow materials you need to ascend her, you need a 65 of the ones from the Shape of Blaze, this one right here. And for the Echo of War material for her traces, you need a total of 12 from the one from Destruction's Beginning. Again, you need a total of 12 of these, so this is the one you have to do for her traces. Moving on to lightcones, her best one is her own, that is also a standard banner pull that you can only get from losing the 75-25 from the lightcone banner, and can also pull randomly from the standard banner. What it does is, for each enemy on the field, increases the wearer's attack by 9%, up to 5 stacks. So if there is 5 enemies, you get a 45% attack bonus. When an enemy is inflicted with weakness break, the damage dealt by the wearer increases by 30% for 1 turn. So this is her best in slot only if you have full uptime on both parts here for all enemies, and the damage dealt from the weakness break. If you have uptime, this does become her best one because it increases her damage by a ton. A good second one is actually Jing Wan's signature light cone, and what it does is increases the wearer's crit damage by 36%. Increases the wearer's skill and ultimate damage by 80%, so helping her skill and ult do more damage is nice because her skill and ult do hit decently hard. After the wearer uses their skill or ultimate, they gain Summonus Corpus. Upon triggering a follow-up attack, Summonus Corpus will be consumed and the follow-up attack damage increases by 48%. So, because Himeko does do follow-up attacks with her Victory Rush and that being the biggest source of her damage, this part with Summonus Corpus is actually usable. So it is a very solid option. Another very, very powerful option is actually Genius's Repose, and what it does is increase the wearer's attack by 16%, and when the wearer defeats an enemy, the wearer's crit damage increases by 24% for 3 turns. And since it's a 4-star, it is possible to have R5, and the attack becomes 32%, and when you defeat an enemy, the crit damage becomes 48%. So, if you do have uptime on defeating an enemy, this is a very powerful option. If you cannot have full uptime by defeating an enemy, the value of this lightcone drastically decreases, but it is still nice for the 32% attack. Obviously, if you can have uptime, there will be better options, but if you can defeat an enemy to have this crit damage, it is a very powerful option. And so another decent option is Today is Another Peaceful Day, and I only recommend this one if you have it R5. And so what it does after entering the battle increases the wearer's damage based on their max energy. Damage increases by 0.2% per point of energy, up to 160 energy. And so obviously having it at R5 doubles that value from 0.2 to 0.4, and I don't recommend really using this if you don't have it R5. But if you realistically do not have these as options, and you have this one maybe at a lower dupe, it is a option you can use, but at not R5 the damage does drop off. So I definitely recommend using this if you have R5 and none of these options. But if you don't, I would definitely recommend having one of these. If you might not have two of these, I'm sure, hopefully, you have one of these, and even one of these would be better than this if it is not R5. So, again, definitely only recommend using this if you have it R5. Moving on to our best relic. So our best relic set is the follow-up set, and what it does is the 2-piece increases the damage dealt by follow-up attacks by 20%. 4-piece when the wearer uses a follow-up attack increases the wearer's attack by 6% for every time the follow-up attack deals damage, and her victory rush hits a bunch of times. This effect can stack up to 8 times and last for 3 turns. This effect is removed the next time wearer uses a follow-up attack. So at max stacks, you increase the wearer's attack by 48%, which is really, really nice. And again, her victory rush does hit a bunch of times, so this is very easy to do, especially with her. So this is her best set. Another really good set is actually the new Pioneer Diver of Dead Water set, and it is referred to as the debuff set, and I will refer to it as the debuff set for every video to come. This set is only up there if you do have the debuffs active, and I will be getting into why because of what it does. So the 2-piece increases damage dealt to enemies with debuff by 12%, and the 4-piece increases crit rate by 4%. The wearer deals 8%/12% increased crit damage to enemies with at least 2/3 debuffs. After the wearer inflicts a debuff on enemy targets, the aforementioned effects increased by 100%, lasting for 1 turn. And since she inflicts burn, that can count as a debuff. And the way this works is if you have 2 debuffs inflicted on the enemy, you have a 8% increased crit damage. And if you have 3 debuffs, you get the 8% plus another 12%, so you get a 20% crit damage bonus with someone with 3 debuffs. And after you inflict burn, you would get that value increased by 100%. Very, 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 very good. But again, this is one that I recommend using if you can have the debuff be active at most times. Because even with 1 debuff with the mix and match, you can make it work, but 3 debuffs is where this set really shines. Another pretty good option is the fire set. What it does is increases fire damage by 10%. And the 4-piece is something that I would not recommend, but what it does is increases the wearer's skill damage by 12%. After unleashing ultimate, increases the wearer's fire damage by 12% for the next attack. I only recommend using this if you are going to combine the 2-piece with something like the Pioneer ones, because dealing damage to debuffed enemies is very easy, and the fire damage is just a free increase, so it's nice. And another option I'd recommend using if you have to do a 2-piece is actually Musketeers, and what it does is the 2-piece attack increases by 12%, 4-piece the wearer's speed increases by 6%, and the basic attack damage increases by 10%. I've mentioned countlessly, the speed is nice, but for a lot of characters the basic attack is kind of whatever. What you're mainly looking at is the 12% attack increase from the 2-piece. So you'd probably combine one of these with like 2-piece, like these being 2-piece, but for the most part, you'd probably do 2-piece this and 2-piece fire. You can also do 2-piece fire and 2-piece Pioneers or debuff set. Overall, the best set would be running full-piece follow-up set or full-piece debuffer set, assuming you can get max debuffs. Moving on to planet ornaments, the best one is if you can get the bonus with having Himeko at 135 speed or higher. This is where her damage can be highest. What it does is increases the wearer's attack by 12%. When the wearer's speed is equal or higher than 135/160, the wearer deals 12/18% more damage. What that means is if you have 135 speed or higher, you deal 12% more damage, and if you have 160 speed or higher, you get that 12% and you add 18%, so you do 30% more damage. So this one is only best if you can get 135 speed or higher, which 135 speed is doable. 160 speed is harder to do, but with buffs it is possible, and this is still, even if you cannot get to 160, it is still the best in slot with 135. Another very solid option is the Salsato's Moving City, which what it does is increases the wearer's crit rate by 18%. When the wearer's current crit rate reaches 50% or higher, the wearer's ultimate and follow-up attack damage increases by 15%. Since you will use your skill an okay amount, you do miss out on like a skill buff or just kind of damage in that area. But her ultimate does do pretty good damage, and her follow-up attack is where her main damage is at, so this is a very, very good option if you do not have Glamoth pieces. And another really good option is the Space Sailing Station, because what it does is increase the wearer's attack by 12%, and when the wearer's speed reaches 120 or higher, the wearer's attack increases by an extra 12%. So for having 120 speed or higher, which is very, very easy, you get a 24% attack bonus, so this is just a nice, easy set to have. Now, as for the main stats for the body, you will respectively rock crit rate or crit damage because Himeko is a regular DPS. For the feet, you will rock speed, unless you have enough speed from subsets alone, obviously going around to the 134 or higher territory. If you have that and you don't want to rock speed boots, you can do attack percent, but for the most part, rock speed boots. For the planner ornament main stats, the spear will be fire damage, and the rope will be attack percent. As for the subsets, you want to prioritize speed first until you get to at least 134 or higher. After you get to 134 or higher speed, you want to obviously have crit rate and crit damage, because Himeko is a DPS, so obviously you want to have a good amount of crit rate, and with a good amount of crit rate, you want to have a good amount of crit damage. More crit damage, more damage, more crit rate, the more consistent the damage will be. And followed by that is attack percent, because attack percent just makes everything hit harder. So attack percent rolls are a very nice option after speed and crit rate and crit damage. And so that is a full Himeko build guide. I hope you guys found this helpful. Let me know how many of you guys lost 50-50 to Himeko recently or on the Black Swan / Dawn Negreira banner. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.